The thing about this work is it's not what we think it's about. And when we come to it driven by our needs and wants and our discomfort. And the barometer by which we measure our progress is usually based on whether we feel better or not. But that's not really what it's about. Although part of the journey, our experience does transform. I tell you what, I definitely feel better than I did 10 years ago. Breakfast must have been good this morning. Good morning. I don't know if any of you remember the Karate Kid, the movie, and where he goes to his first karate lesson and the teacher tells him to wash the car. And he's very put out because he's come to do karate. Not wash cars, karate. So he goes out and he washes the car and he's really all like sulky and moaning. And the teacher comes out and says, "No, you're not doing it correctly." Wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. So he goes, "This guy is mad. He's mad. How am I going to learn karate from such a mad person?" Right? So he goes, wax on, wax off, wax on. And eventually when he gets into his first spar, his first contact with someone else, and the person tries to hit him, he goes, wax on, wax off. Wax on, wax off. And it's very hard for us to see what's coming in our human experience. We have such a short attention span, and our attention, we're awake for how many hours of the day. And when our attention is kept by so many things that we really have a very few minutes in the day to really look around, because we're so busy focused on this, and I've got to then do this. So we don't really look around and can really take in the whole picture. And so we're having a really unusual experience as human beings at the moment, and it's becoming more unusual as it goes along. And the thing about this work is it's wax on, wax off. It's wax on, wax off. And for those of us that have been doing, say, the presence process for a couple of years, or not the presence process, but this emotional work, you will already realize that you walk into situations and something happens and you go wax on, wax off. And you realize that the work is equipping you to navigate the experience in a particular way. So the work is not what we think about. There are a lot of approaches at the moment in the world that say, do this and you can have a bigger house. Do this and you can have more money. Do this and you can get that person that you want, right? In other words, manipulate your experience in this way and you may accomplish that, right? And this is not about that. This is not about manipulating our experience to accomplish something that we think we need and want so that we feel better. It's just not about that at all. And as we enter this work more deeply, we will realize that there is something that's unfolding, and we're intimately part of this journey. And what this work is about, enabling us to participate fully in the experience, full participation. And our point of participation is right at the emotional component of our experience. That's our point. That's where we're being asked to participate. So it's pointless. It's pointless running off to save the starving children in Africa if a part of my being is starving and I'm not giving it any food. It's arrogant and it's hypocritical, and what I'll end up doing is damaging the people that I go to help. All right? So it's all about bringing it back to here, and only when I'm responding to that part of myself that is starving, am I truly able to respond to others who are going through whatever experience they're going through. So this work isn't about we come into it uncomfortable, most of us, and we want to be more comfortable, and that's natural. I am definitely way more comfortable than I was 10 or 15 years ago. And 10 or 15 years ago, I was banging my head against concrete, literally, so that I could knock myself out to stop pain. And I would have that pain up to 8 times a day. So that was my reality. And I don't have that reality anymore. Praise the Lord. But as I entered my experience more deeply, I realized that the reason I'd entered this work wasn't to get rid of the pain. The pain would leave when I started to live more consciously. It was to become fully conscious and to participate fully in my experience. And I have no doubt in my mind that if I return to that state of irresponsibility for my experience, that I will awaken to that same level of discomfort. In other words, it never went away, it simply became integrated. It simply became integrated. And it took me a really long time to figure out what the medicine was. And once I figured it out, it was so obvious and so simple, but because of the world that I'm living in and the people around me, it's always been hidden. Because we live in a world of doing. That this world is a world of doing created by doers, and it is for doers. Doers do very well in this world. You do a lot of stuff you can do pretty well. You can become very successful. You can become famous. And all sorts of things can happen for you if you just do the right things, right? So it's definitely a world of doers. And in a world of doers, being has no point of reference and no value. We have no value for being whatsoever as a frequency that has any significance. Although at many points in our day, and we are being, we don't even know it. And it's those few moments that bring us what we require. We still think it's our doing that accomplishes it, right? And so the thing is to realize that there's a difference. When I'm speaking about doing, I'm not speaking about activity, because I can be doing with my thoughts. When I'm telling a story about what's happening to me, I'm doing something. I'm expending energy, I'm projecting energy out into the world that is for fueling my own vehicle. I might be sitting on a bench, just thinking, and I'm actually doing something, right? So in life, there's all sorts of momentum. There's always going to be momentum. And there's specifically two types of momentum going on. And the reason I've written that up there this morning is that everything I'm going to share with you now is there, right? It's on the Presence portal. So you don't have to worry about trying to remember any of this. Because I'm going to give you a tool now, two ways that are so far more accelerated than the Presence process. You can still do the Presence process, and for some, it's still relevant to do the Presence process, because if I have no connection with my emotional signature, if I have no connection with my fear, anger, and grief, and I still, go like, well, what do you mean fear, anger, and grief? If I'm still in that place, the presence process is very useful, because if I do it, it's going to upset me. And that's going to help me out, right? It's going to set me up to see those things about myself. Bring that to my awareness. But once we're in tune with our emotional signature, there is a way more accelerated way of approaching this work. And when we're in a state of doing, now let's look at doing. There's two types of momentum in this world. There's always momentum. What's happening in this moment, momentum. That's moment, I'm in the moment, right? Momentum. So there's two types of movement in the moment, always. One movement is an expression of being alive. The other movement is doing something to feel better, to feel more comfortable. Doing something to manipulate what is happening, to change it into something that I think will make a difference to my state of being. So those are the only two types of momentum that are going on. We're balanced between one and the other. The momentum that doesn't serve us is the doing. But that's the momentum that rules the world. We live in the world of doing. Human beings do. Nature doesn't. Nature doesn't, unless, of course, it becomes domesticated, right? For example, some of us were chatting about it this weekend. You know that the bees are all dying, right? I don't know if you know that. All the worker bees are dying, all over the earth. Last year, I think they lost over 50% of the bees in the United States, the worker bees. This year, and even in Europe and other places, the bees are dying. Do you know which bees are dying? The bees that they've taken trucks to different farms and they put them to work. The bees that are doing are dying. The bees that are living in the wild, in the organic bees that are just living in the wild, they're fine. They're not dying. They're just being, right? And nature is trying to show us something. The world of the doer is coming to a juddering halt. And every day you can look in a newspaper and turn on the TV and see the end, go to CNN and see the end, right? And the end will show you the end of doing coming at us at a lightning speed. By December, gas prices $7 to $10 a gallon. People go, no, it's impossible. Oh, really? We've gone up $2 already. And it's accelerating. Because what's happening is, and this is deliberate, it's not, people go, no, but it's a conspiracy. Well, it's actually a deliberate conspiracy. Because it's time for us to realize there's nothing we can do about certain things. There's nothing we can do about anything. And we're going to be presented more and more and more with stuff we can't do about. We've already had more tornadoes in this 1 year than I don't know in how many years in the States, right? I mean, half the people are underwater in the Midwest, wherever, right? There's nothing you can do. When water rises, there's nothing you can do about it, right? And what's happening is in our personal lives and in the world we live in, we are being presented more and more with stuff we can do nothing about. And if you look around you and you listen to people talk, and they will tell you about the stuff they can't do anything about, right? And all those points are at which there is something I can do nothing about is the point at which I'm being invited to reawaken to being. And if I don't reawaken to being, it's going to be very freaky, right? If I reawaken to being, it's light. It's actually when I really get it. And the thing is, when I'm in the world of doing, what doing is a belief that I can think my way out of this. I can think my way out of the weather conditions. And I can do something about it, right? And so it's even played into our hands. We're even led to believe that we are responsible for the escalating weather on the planet, right? And I guess we're also responsible for the escalating weather on Mars, Jupiter, Venus, throughout our solar system. I guess it must be us. We're so arrogant, right? because this is happening throughout our solar system. Every planet is heating up. They've been having the most bizarre windstorms, dust storms on Mars, right? All sorts of things are going on. So it's always bigger than what we think. And we think we can do something about this. It's not about doing anything about it, right? And so when we're in the world of doing, what we do is we wander around the wilderness, because being in the wilderness is that ghost state where I keep coming back to the same place. You know, if someone's wandering through the desert and they go, oh, hell, here are my footprints again. I thought I was walking in a straight line, right? It's the same as, you know, I'm going to leave this person because they are just not the right person for me, and I'm going to find someone else, and oh, here they are again. I'm with the same person again, right? I'm going to leave this job, I'm in the same job again, right? That's called wandering in the wilderness. And when we have a story given to us about wandering in the wilderness, right? The Israelites wandering in the wilderness, following Moses around because they thought Moses knew what to do. But Moses didn't have a clue, right? That's why we call it moseying around, right? Right? Moseying around in the wilderness. Moses didn't have a clue what to do. That's why they walked for a long time like, Moses, where are we going? I don't know, just waiting for God to say something. Hold on a minute, right? 3 months later, where are we going? I don't know. just keep going. It's okay, right? So that is the life of the doer, is that we are lost in the wilderness. And we're lost in the wilderness because we believe that doing can get us out of the wilderness. But it can't. It doesn't. Right? So to look at the two types of momentum, it's very easy to see them, because again, we're told unless you become as a child, you cannot enter the kingdom. The wilderness is the boredom. The kingdom is when you find your way out of the wilderness. Right? And you don't have to write any of this down. The whole thing is on the website. Go to my audio page, and it's even recorded for you, so you don't even have to write it down there, right? Everything that's required is given. One day you'll figure that out, right? So, there's two types of momentum, and the child shows us what this looks like. You have one child which is just playing with its toys. It's just being there. It's not trying to accomplish anything. It's not trying to get your attention, not trying to manipulate the experience. It's just being there on the floor playing with its toys, right? And when we come around a child like that, we go, oh, such a beautiful little baby, you want to pick up and right? Okay? We love being around that child because it has a radiance about it, right? And it draws us into it. And we want to give it food and make sure it's comfortable and wipe its bum and everything. Everything is brought to that child, right? It doesn't have to ask for anything. In fact, it goes, it's enough. Okay, I just want to play with my toys, right? But that's its radiance. It receives everything that's required. Then you have, when this child starts behaving in a way in which it's manipulating the experience to get your attention, to try and change the way things are, right? That child, once it starts behaving in a way to get something from what's going on, to get attention, it becomes annoying and irritable, and we say, get that child out of the room. That child's annoying. Take that child, right? What happens is that radiance pushes away. The getting radiance pushes, and eventually that child finds itself a lot of time by itself. The food doesn't arrive on time, right? It's peed in its pants and no one noticed, right? It's just having a hard time because it's pushed everybody away. It doesn't receive what it's required, right? And this child will eat mashed up Brussels sprouts. This child wants sweets. It doesn't want food. It doesn't want nutrition. It wants something to feel better. This child will receive what's given as its food and digest it, right? So unless we become as a child again, we cannot enter the kingdom. when we're in this radiance, everything that's required is brought to us. It's given. It's already given, right? Here, we can't even recognize what's required. We spit out the food and we ask for sweets. It's a very different resonance. We say, no, I want a bigger house. No, but you've got a bed. No, but I want a bigger house, because if I get a bigger house, people will like me, right? That's the resonance there. So the thing is, what we are being asked now, what the invitation is can you move from there back to there? Move from that resonance and live in that resonance. Because re-entering that resonance is going to bring everything that's required. And more. You'll eventually go, I got enough. Really? I got enough. I got everything. I actually have enough to share with other people. Right? I don't need and want anything, actually. Right? I don't do things to have fun because I'm not bored. Here I do things to have fun. What do you do to have fun? Well, why do you need to have fun? Are you not having fun right now? No, I'm not having fun. I'm bored. I live in the boredom, right? So how do we move from that place to that place? This is the wilderness, right? And we can stay here forever. We can stay here forever as long as we think and believe and behave as if there is something we can do about our situation. So what's required is to cross over from this place to this place. And this, it just requires a bridge. And the reason it requires a bridge is because the mental body and the physical world have no point of reference whatsoever for this experience. It doesn't exist. No one will encourage you into this experience. Everyone is going to ask you to enter that experience. Our politicians believe they can do something. I tell you what I'm going to do for you. What I'm going to do for you. No one can do anything for you. Our priests do too. Our religions. I'll speak to God on your behalf. Don't you worry about it. Put some money in the plate. I'll rap to the big man. Right? Everyone tells us they can do something. A therapist sits there and goes, don't worry, I can do it for you. You just talk away, I'll watch the clock, and we'll get something figured out after about 10 or 15 years. Right? So it's crossing over from here to here. And a bridge is required because it's very important we show ourselves what this radiance is. Now this radiance is being, not a being, being. This radiance is a being doing, a being who does something, right? The difference between doing and being is very simple. Doing has results. And the results are the barometer of whether the results are successful are determined by whether I feel better or not. If I feel better about something, those are good results. If I don't feel better, those are bad results. If I get what I want and need to feel better, that's good results. I'm doing well. If I don't, I'm not doing very well. That's what doing is about. Being doesn't have results. It has consequences. And the consequences are, I receive what I require. I receive what I require. And the thing about what I require is I don't know what that is. I can't recognize what I require. If someone puts what I require right in front of me, I won't recognize it. I'll go, no, that's not what I need and want, thank you. I need and want something else, right? What I require isn't going to necessarily make me feel better. But what it will accomplish is enable me to evolve as a being. It'll enable me to evolve and grow, especially emotionally. Because unless I grow emotionally, I do not develop the capacity to directly communicate with the vibrational. That comes from my emotional growth, not my mental or my physical growth. So it's necessary to have a bridge to cross from the one place to the other. And that bridge is only necessary for as long as it takes to experientially demonstrate. Now, demonstrate is one of my favorite words too. Put the demon straight, right? To demonstrate, right, the relevance of being. That being without condition is the most powerful frequency in all of creation. And once we value it, game over. Until we value it, game on. Right? And the game on is, what can I do to figure this out? Right? But so I have to show that to myself, and I have to show it to myself as a physical, mental, and emotional experience, as a fully integrated experience, right? Because unless I see it, there's no ways I'm going to participate. I'm rather going to try and do something. So it's very easy. So I call this exercise walking out of the wilderness, and it takes 40 days, right? Which is accelerated now because the presence process takes 77 days to just figure out that you're in the wilderness, right? And then you do it again to go, now what? Right? And you do it again, okay, I got it, right? But this is 40 days to walk out of the wilderness, right? To end all this moseying around, right? And what it requires is this. Every one of us are faced with things right now we can do nothing about. Every one of us. And if we sat down, we could make a list of at least 10 of those things. 10 of those things. And they can be my money situation. They can be my relationship with my father. They can be that tragedy that happened to me 10 years ago that I can't do anything about now. It happened. Right? It can be anything that when I put my attention upon it causes discomfort. Causes me to feel uncomfortable. And the discomfort, although it may appear to me as mental, as a story, because these 10 things, the reason I know that they're there is that I have a really good story about them. But underlying the story is actually an emotional signature. It's a felt experience. Now these 10 things, what they are really, is they're 10... It really is on the website. No, but you can write notes. No, go ahead, you can write notes. I'm just kidding with you. Huh? Pardon?
Did you turn the recorder on?
Yeah, I think the recorder's on. And if it's not, that's okay. It's already on the website. I already put it there. I promise you.
That could crash.
Then that's what's required. So what these 10 things are, and you only require 10 of them, right? What these 10 things are, they're actually notes in a piece of music that you don't really like to listen to. Each one of them is a note. When you feel the emotional signature, if you go to anything now in your life that has been upsetting you, just go to it now, anything, right? Just go and visit it. And you'll see it has a physical circumstance to it. It has a story about it. And it also has a feeling. And when you put your attention on the feeling, that feeling is in the body. It's in the physical body somewhere. And you can put your attention on that feeling, and just like those birds out there, you can listen to it. What you're doing is you're listening with the heart. The ears of the heart feel. The eyes of the heart feel. Right? Feeling is its perceptual tool. So you can listen to that like you would listen to the birds. Not to change the bird song, not to understand it, just to be with it. Right? And what you're doing is you're listening to a note in a piece of music this is not your top 10. This is your bottom 10, okay? Right. So those 10 things on the list, those are 10 notes. And some of them are the same note, you just don't realize it yet. Like having a problem at work and the issue you have with your father, you might find, wow, same note, same place in the body. Same imprint expressing itself in different areas of my life. It doesn't matter. All that's required is you make your list of 10 things and you only use one word. You don't like write a novel. This is about my dad because when I was young he took my teddy away and he shouldn't have done that, and now I'm scarred for life. Whenever I see teddies I get like really weird and freaky. None of that, okay? You just write dad. Because it's not about the story. The story has the only purpose of the story at this stage of the game is that it is a pointer to the note of the musical note. Right? And you write that list. And then, because this practice is called a not doing or an undoing. It's not a doing, because we're not going to be doing anything. The only thing you're going to do is make the list. Boom, finished. Right? So you'll have to do something there. Then that's done. Right? And then every day you are going to enter what's called undoing. Right? If I was in the ghetto now and I was a rapper, I wouldn't be called a rapper, I'm called an unrapper. So this is the same technique. It's undoing. Okay? Undoing. Undoing is not doing. And what we then enter is every day, once a day, for no more than 15 minutes, because if you make it more than 15 minutes, you're going to start doing something, right? It's not about doing anything. You don't even tell anyone you're doing this, because if you tell someone, you want them to know you're doing something, right? This is an undoing, this is a not doing. This is yours and yours alone, because you want to show yourself something that is going to rock your world, right? And what you do is every day you take out your list. And you only do this for 40 days because it doesn't take longer than 40 days to walk out the wilderness. And it's unlikely you'll do this for even 40 days because you can find your way out pretty quickly. Right? And for 15 minutes a day, you take out your list and you look at it. You just scan it in a relaxed way. And what you will notice is one or two of those points will be more prominent than the others. In other words, what that means is that musical note is closer to the surface of your awareness than the others. And then what you do is go, oh, Dad. All right, so Dad, okay, what's that feeling? Where do I feel it? It's over here. Okay, let me be with that. Just listen to it. Listen to that piece of music. Allow it to play. Be there. And it may go away. All sorts of things may unfold. Whatever unfolds is valid. If it goes away, grab your list again and go, okay, money problems. Okay, money problem. Right, okay. What does that feel like? Where do I feel that? Oh, that's like here. Okay, let me sit with that. See, the thing is, those notes are playing 24 hours a day. And those physical sensations are going on 24 hours a day. And that's a lot of energy invested in keeping that out of your awareness. But this is what will unfold. 15 minutes a day, no more than that. You just pay attention to some of those notes. Not all of them on the page, just the couple that come up. After 15 minutes, you put your list away. You carry on with the momentum of the day. The day is full of momentum to be taken care of and to participate in. You come once a day. What you will notice and what will become undeniable to you as this experiment, because you're going to your laboratory and you're going here to do an experiment, what will become undeniable to you is things will start to unfold around you that are serving to bring resolution to these 10 things. And you didn't do anything or figure out anything to make that happen. In other words, you will get that phone call. You will bump into that person, walk around the corner and bump into that person. Things will happen to bring resolution to these 10 things without you doing anything about it. And soon it will become obvious to you that what is causing that is being without condition at the causal point of that experience. The causal point of that experience is the emotional signature. And being without condition is the most powerful resonance we have available. It means I'm with that, I'm not trying to fix it, I'm not trying to understand it, I'm not trying to turn it into light, I'm not trying to move it through my chakras. There's no understanding, I am just being with it without condition. And what the consequence is this procedure will enliven your state of being. It will enliven your state of being. And what that means is, as you start to see experientially that these literally magical things happen, or miraculous events start unfolding to bring resolution to these 10 things, and that you're doing nothing about it. You're experientially showing yourself what the resonance of being is. And for a while you won't believe it. You'll go, no, actually it's happening because of this. Oh no, I can explain it. And eventually the mental body goes, no, I can't explain this. Right? Why it enlivens a state of being is, as you cross over that bridge, as you're going through your day, and things happen that are uncomfortable to you, because of doing this practice, this undoing practice, you will be less inclined to want to do something about your discomfort, and less inclined to entertain the story it tells, or to engage in mental masturbation to try and figure it out, right? You will be more inclined to just be with it without condition. Right? So you enter the boardroom and you're having a meeting and 2 people start freaking out in there, and normally what you do is you try and make peace, and now you won't. You'll go, I'm going to be here, I'm going to feel what's going on in this boardroom, and I'm going to be with that feeling without condition, and I'm going to watch what happens, because now the power is here in the room. What happens? And when you're being with it without condition, watch what happens in the boardroom with those people. Watch how the resolution comes about. In other words, real solution comes about, as opposed to people agreeing with each other and calming down and everyone feeling better about what's going on. Actual real resolution. And going through any aspect of life, this is the power we're being asked to wield whenever we're confronted with anything that we feel or are supposed to do something about, to fix, and we wield this being without condition upon it. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. In any situation, there isn't anything this power cannot address, because being without condition, this is the resonance of being. You see, when we're in the world of doing, as a doer, I'm a being who does something. We believe that what God is somebody who does things. And we go like, hey man, do something for me now. I've been speaking to you for a long time and you just don't seem to do anything for me, right? And it's that same mentality of, for example, the best way to illustrate that is of a young disciple who goes to a Buddhist temple and decides he wants to become like Buddha, right? So he goes to the temple, comes in, he's very eager to be like Buddha, okay? And he comes in, he walks to the statue of Buddha and he looks at the statue and he goes, okay, let's figure this out. Oh! Buddha's sitting in a lotus position, let me do that. Right? And so it does that for a while and nothing happens. And goes, well, that's obviously not it. Buddha's holding these magical beads. Let me get some beads. Excuse me, can I have beads? Right, okay. Well, that doesn't do anything either. Buddha shaved his head. He shaved his head, let me do that. Shave the head. That doesn't seem to be doing much either. I figured it out. It's the orange robe. It's the orange robe. Yeah, let's do that. Feels pretty good. Nothing's happening either. Well, I must be really missing something here. Figured it out. It's that faint smile he has on his face. That half smile, let me do that. Well, that doesn't work either. Because the statue of Buddha, approached by a doer, looks like somebody's doing something. And so we go and look at it and go like, what is this person doing? Because I want to be like this person. But actually, the statue of Buddha is the image of being, not doing. It's someone who's not doing anything. He's just sitting there being. I know do nothing. I'm Medicine Buddha. The Medicine Buddha puts out the hands and the medicine arrives in the palms. Not through doing, through being. All the medicine it arrives exactly there as required, right? It's the same with Jesus. When we look at Jesus, we go, wow, look at the stuff he did. Like making dead people live, and messing with the fish and everything. This guy's just, right? Giving people really groovy wine to drink at the wedding. I want to be like Jesus. Because I just got water at home. I want wine. Okay. But actually, Jesus was never about doing anything. Right? And so in the world of the doer, we perceive God as a being who does something. And we go around figuring out what is it we need to do to be like that. But actually, once we cross over, we will realize that God is a verb. Being. Whenever we are being without condition, then God is there, fully present, with all the power of creation. The moment we're doing, we cut that off and we go, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Don't worry, boss, I'll just do it all myself, right? And then the path of blood, sweat, and tears appears. That's the path of doing, right? So it's very important that we show ourselves the value of being, the resonance. Being is a frequency. And the more we bring that frequency to bear, it's, for example, the doers and the beers are going to be separated very easily in a simple event. For example, like, how long does it take for the flares to get from the sun to here? 8 minutes, right? So on CNN, news alert, breaking news, right? Solar flare, not solar maximus, solar giant enormous, right? Coming towards Earth, you have 8 minutes. I just want to say a shout out to my mom. I love you, Mom. Okay. So, the thing is, if there's a solar flare coming towards Earth, right? I mean, we had one when we entered the emotional realm in 1999, we had a solar flare ejected from the sun, so large that it caused the northern lights to go all the way down into Mexico. I don't know if you ever remember that, right? The solar flare was so large, it missed us. We were coming along here, and it went, but it was still so powerful on us that it caused, if that solar flare had hit the Earth directly on, it would have wiped out all electricity, all banking systems, all cell phones, all motor cars, and a lot of people would have got the coolest tan you've ever seen. Right? What are you going to do about that? Right? And so it's that, if we said this is going to happen, we will ask ourselves, what do we do? It's not about doing. This is the separation of the wheat from the chaff, right? It's what's happening on the earth. In our own personal experience, every day we're being offered, said, what are you going to do about this? Right? What are you going to do about this? And it's at those points, put those things on your list. Show yourself what that's about, right? So I'm nearly done. We'll get to questions. Hold your questions. So that's the one thing. And what that is at the beginning of the weekend, we spoke about nutrition, right? This is important to get. Nutrition. There are 4 types of nutrition available on this planet. There is physical nutrition. You go to the mess hall, go to the dining hall, you can get your physical nutrition, right? There is mental nutrition. Come sit here, you're going to get your mental nutrition, right? There is emotional nutrition. Go home, make your list. That is food. That is food, right? That if you don't digest, you're going to have indigestion, right? Those are the things in your life that you cannot stomach. But each one of them is a delicacy to be digested. And the digestion process is through being without condition. If I eat a banana, right? I eat a banana. I don't say, okay, go down on the right-hand side. Now take a left. Okay, now go into the long intestine, short intestine. Okay, move towards the anus. Let me know when you're almost there. I don't, right? So let's not do that with our emotional food either. Okay? All that's required is that we digest it, swallow it. And sitting with those things on the list, those 10 points are the causal points that drive us into doing mentality. It is the discomfort arising out of those 10 things that drives us into the behavior of trying to feel better, of trying to manipulate the world, of trying to mess with God so that we feel better. As we digest those 10 points, that behavior is going to become neutralized. It's just going to fall away. And the structures we've built to contain that behavior are going to dismantle. You will see them dismantle around you. And at first it may be kind of strange just to see something's falling apart. But once, if you allow them to fall apart, as they fall apart, if you can be with them without condition, you will be so grateful that you don't have that structure anymore that holds together your fear, anger, and grief. So that's the emotional nutrition. It's really important to eat the emotional nutrition and to digest it. Because if we don't, I will attempt to keep getting that nutrition from the physical and mental. I will keep trying to get, if I don't digest the emotional nutrition, I use understanding. I try and get it by understanding something. You can't understand being without condition. It's taken me, I think we're out of, it's taken me, myself, probably since 1995, to be able to explain this to myself, right? So, you can't understand it. Let's get rid of this. So you can't understand being without condition. It's not what it's because the mental body can't comprehend it. So you have to show it to yourself. If you do not take the moment in your life now to show it to yourself as an experience, you will continue to engage in doing no matter what. Right? So that's the one thing. This list is about digesting the emotional nutrition, right? What will happen as a consequence of digesting this emotional nutrition is this. You will awaken your feeling capacity. And this is really important because once you awaken your feeling capacity, then you can start to have breakfast. Breakfast is the vibrational nutrition. So we had a teacher who said some very kind of crazy things, right? He said, you cannot live on bread and bread alone. And he also said, you've got to pray for your daily bread. Like, what the hell is he talking about, right? And he also said, you know, the birds are like cool, the lilies are like cool, what's your problem? Like, if they're cool, why are you uncool, all right? So what was he talking about, right? What was he talking about? He's trying to bring ourselves to attention that we have soul food. There is soul food, right? And everyone receives their soul food. It's just that we want sweets, so we spit it out. We would rather have eggs and bacon, right? And the eggs and bacon is great for this body, right? But we have soul food because we have we have a physical aspect, we have a mental aspect, we have an emotional aspect, and we have a vibrational aspect. And our vibrational aspect, while we are here, also requires sustenance. Because every sustenance has something for us. Physical food has vitamins and minerals, etc., etc. Mental food has inspiration, etc., etc. Emotional food, there's all sorts of strengths that come from the emotional food. The emotional food is, one of the power of the emotional food is to enliven our state of being, right? Once we start awakening our felt perception, then we can get with the vibrational food. And the vibrational food is this. Every day, every human being is given food from the vibrational. Directly from the vibrational. And it's usually there first thing in the morning. It's our food for the day. And the thing is, if you haven't a developed felt capacity, you may not even recognize it or realize that it's there. Right? Because this food is coming from the vibrational. It doesn't have a story attached to it. It's not coming from the physical, mental, and into the emotional. It's coming directly from the vibrational. The only aspect of it that we can recognize at this point is that felt aspect of it. That's why it's important to develop the feeling aspect of our being. Every morning, when you wake up, pay attention to what you're feeling. And within the first hour or two of the day, sometimes it's there, like wake up, here's the platter, right? Sometimes it gets delivered after an hour. Sometimes we get it during the course of the day, right? But what it is these are feelings we have when we wake up in the morning that are unfamiliar to us, they're strange to us, but they don't have a story attached to them. We don't know what they're about. So we go, I must have slept poorly last night. We start adding the story, right? And we're addicted to adding a story to it. Oh, it must be because of, we'll make up a story and then believe the story, then act out of the story. And what we've done is we've spat it out. Literally, the moment we enter the story, we have spat out the food. But what those feelings are, those are not emotional signatures. You can recognize emotional signature. It comes with the story. They're like joined at the hip. In fact, usually the story comes first before you recognize it's the emotional signature. The story's like way out front. It's because of blah, blah, blah. This is what's going on, right? The vibrational food has no story. There is no mental component to it, unless you add one. There is no physical component required to it. In other words, no physical behavior, unless you believe the story you add on to it. Otherwise, it's just a feeling. And if you wake up in the morning, you will notice that in the first hour or two, you have certain feelings around you. What we normally do is do the first thing we can to push them away. I'll eat a large breakfast, I'll go and work out, I'll go and go for a walk, whatever, to get rid of that, right? But actually, what's required is to have breakfast, yum, yum, right? That is food directly, that's soul food. That's vibrational food. And all that's required is to put our attention on it.
Are those feelings the same discomfort, the upset?
They're not as upset. They're not the emotional signature, right? And that's why it's important to do the emotional work first. Because doing the emotional work is going to help you to recognize an emotional signature, in other words, a signature of discomfort that comes from fear, anger, and grief. This feeling doesn't have fear, anger, and grief to it, but you can add that kind of story to it. This feeling simply feels strange and unfamiliar. And because it's unfamiliar, it feels somewhat uncomfortable, because we only like familiar, right? We only like what we can recognize. The thing about this feeling is you can't recognize it. You don't know what it's there for. It's just a strange feeling you have. And it'll be there in the first hour or two of your day. And the only thing that is required is to put the attention on it and be with it without condition and go, thank you. And if you be with it, you'll notice it might stay for a little bit, but it moves on pretty quickly. Next thing You're doing something else in your life and it's gone. You've digested it, right? And what these are for enlivening your state of being during the course of your day. And maybe in the course of the next couple of days, depending on what's coming up for you. This is your soul food. And everyone receives their daily bread. Every human, there isn't a human being who doesn't receive it. But however, there are very few human beings who don't spit it out. Now I'll give you an example of how this soul food may work, right? Let's say I have a presentation. Whenever I'm on 2 weeks, off 2 weeks. On 2 weeks, off 2 weeks. That's kind of roughly my rhythm, okay? So when I go off for 2 weeks, I'm not in this mode. I'm on my couch, right? I'm definitely not in presentation mode. In the 2 weeks that I'm off, I spent 99% of the time by myself, right? So 2 or 3 days before I'm about to catch a plane to a presentation, what I would notice before I really got the daily bread stuff was that I'd start to feel uncomfortable, right? And I would go, okay, then I would add the story, right? Obviously I'm not ready. Maybe I need to listen to some of my past presentations because I've obviously forgotten the material or something, right? Maybe I just need to do some press-ups, start telling a story. But actually, what is happening is I'm being presented my soul food to enliven my state of being for the presentations that are coming up. And it works this way. I go before you to prepare a place for you. I go ahead to prepare a place for you. There is a part of you that knows everything you're walking into before you even walk into it. Everything, and knows what's required for you to be there. Not to do there, to be there. So I figured out very quickly that if I listened to some presentations and I did some press-ups and walked around the block and checked my diet and made sure I wasn't constipated and everything so that I'm ready for my presentation, by the time I arrive at my presentation, I'm so freaked out, it takes me an hour to just get centered, right? But actually, if I stay with that feeling and I go, thank you, and no matter how strange and uncomfortable it may appear, if I be with it without condition and I stay with it, and my prime focus, yes, I'm packing to get ready, yes, I'm going to be on the plane, yes, I'm going to be, all the momentum that's required, but my primary focus is that feeling. When I'm standing in the security line, I'm on that feeling. When I'm on the plane, I'm on that feeling. As I approach the presentation, if that feeling is still there, I'm with that feeling until the moment I start. And what I noticed from that feeling is that it enlivens my state of being. It enables me to be here. In other words, don't do anything. And it brings me everything I require for that moment. Everything I require is provided. Even down to what I'm going to be talking about. I don't have to worry about that even. That's why I don't need a pen and paper. Because I eat my soul food, everything is given. Everything is given. Right? And all of us, whenever we get up every morning, there are things we are going to enter during the day. And there's a part of us that knows this. And it's saying, here's your food to enliven your state of being for that experience. And what we normally do is spit it out and then go and do our preparation. Right? It's the example, a good example is that of an actor, right? If an actor gets up in the morning and has an audition, a very important audition that evening, and they get up in the morning and they feel the daily bread given to them, they might go, whoa, I feel uncomfortable. I'm obviously not ready for my part. I need to do my lines, spend all day, blah, 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 blah. You know, maybe I've got 2 lines, but I just need to get them right? How am I going to stand? What am I going to do? All this stuff, right? And by the time they get to the audition, they're probably so freaked out that it takes halfway through the audition before they actually start, gaining any presence, and they leave that experience going, I wasn't at my best. I wasn't at my best, right? Because acting, like life, is not about the physical or the mental. Anyone who acts knows it's about the emotional. It's all about the emotional. And that is, like, if you're going to play the role of the mafia boss, you don't have to dance around the office and do all sort of facial expressions. You just have to embody the emotion of a mafia boss and sit behind the desk and say, don't mess with me. And if you embody the emotion of the mafia boss, just saying, don't mess with me, well, the guys, I ain't going to mess with that guy. But if you stand up and go, don't mess with me because I'm the mafia boss and I'm the one who will take you out, right? Right, that's believable. Right. So if that actor instead wakes up in the morning and feels this discomfort and goes, this is my daily bread, and stays with it during the day, and stays with that feeling, being with it without condition, by the time they arrive at the audition, they will be totally in their body, right? Not only that, but as they go through the audition, they will find that they will enter experiences that they didn't even prepare for, that come spontaneously. It's what's required. And they'll walk out of there going, wow, that's an amazing audition. Wow, I didn't even see that coming, right? And whether they receive the part or not, they will know that they performed as required. They did their best because they had their soul food. The soul food is to enliven our state of being. And for many, it's hard to perceive the daily bread because the daily bread can only be perceived through felt experience. It's vibrational, that's all it is. It's a vibration in our being. That's because it's strange to us because it's coming from an event that we don't know about yet, and so therefore it's coming from the unknown. Therefore the nutrition is unrecognizable to us. Our daily bread is never going to be familiar. And it's very seldom going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel strange. I call it high strangeness. I wake up in the morning and I just feel like, wow. And it takes me a minute or two and then I go, oh yeah, breakfast. Okay. And I find if I eat that breakfast, I have less of the other one. I don't need a big physical breakfast when I'm eating my soul food. Right?
Do we start to recognize this after the 40 days where we have...
You can start recognizing this now, actually. When you wake up in the morning, if you make a point to just examine your felt experience in the first 2 hours, just examine how you're feeling. And you will notice that there are feelings that are strange and uncomfortable. They might not be uncomfortable as in painful. They're just uncomfortable because it's not the way you want to feel. Like, this is not what I want, right? Our daily bread is what we require to enliven our state of being. And the thing about daily bread is this. It also has its vitamins and minerals. And the vitamins and minerals of daily bread are revelation. In other words, this food reveals to us things that the mental body has no point of reference for. It can reveal to us things that are about the day. It can reveal to us things about our life that we need to get with. It has within it deep insight and revelation. That's its vitamins and minerals. And it also, as you digest your daily bread, and we do, the thing is, what we don't realize is that for a part of our day, always, we are being without condition. We're just not participating with it unconsciously. We're usually unconsciously being without condition. Whenever we have moments of synchronicity and stuff like that, that comes out of being without condition. That's the consequence of being without condition. When I actually, think, okay, I get the revelation today, this is the person I need to call. That's the revelation, right? And then they call me. Ooh. Right? The synchronicity and those sorts of things, that comes from digesting that food. The more we digest our daily bread, the more it becomes hilarious how everything that's required is provided, right? I'll give you one example and then we can take a break. I was in Erie, right? I was in Lake Erie. And while I was in Lake Erie, I got this feeling that music is coming back to me because I've been playing music since I was 14. And I pretty much stopped it for this work. And as I'm approaching the end of this work, which is for me, I see I'm approaching the end of it, I feel music is kind of whispering and going like, remember me, right? So I'm in Lake Erie and I feel, maybe time to get yourself a guitar. Maybe I'll get myself a new guitar, right? And so I flew from Lake Erie to Baton Rouge. When I arrived in Baton Rouge, the person who picked me up there and who drove me around is a friend of mine. And I said to her, won't you check out if there's a guitar shop here in Baton Rouge? Baton Rouge sounds like a great place to buy a guitar, right? I can say to people, I bought this from Baton Rouge, right? So let's see if there's a guitar shop around here and she said, don't worry, I'll look out for one for you, right? And so I got there. I was only there for a Wednesday night. I had Thursday one-on-ones. I flew out Friday morning, right? And so by the time I was going to the airport, on the way to the airport on Friday morning, she turned to me and she said, you know what? I forgot about that guitar. I forgot about the guitar shop. I'm sorry. And I said, it's okay. You know, we were really busy. And as I sat there afterwards in the silence, I realized I'd tried to do something about getting a guitar. I was trying to do something. I was trying to manipulate my experience in Baton Rouge so that I could, you know, end up at a guitar shop, right? So I sat there in the car, and I sat, what's the feeling of wanting to have, you know, I actually didn't want a guitar, but I wanted to be around guitars. I just wanted to be around them, and I actually didn't even want to play one. I just wanted to be around some guitars, and like, I don't know why, I just want to be around guitars and have a look. And you know, so what's that feeling? So I sat in the car on the way to the airport with that feeling, and I just found what that feeling was, and I was being with it without condition. Okay, I'm not going to make myself go to a guitar shop. I'm not going to even, you know, make any of this happen. I'm just going to be with this, right? So I sat probably for about 15 minutes with this feeling. I caught the plane to Dallas. I get off the plane at Dallas, and who picks me up there but my friend Jordan. We go to his car. As I'm getting into the car with him, and he's opening the door and I'm opening the door, he says, oh, by the way, I don't mean to inconvenience you, but this morning I just had this urge. You know, my friend gave me a guitar when I was young. It's an old guitar, it doesn't work, but I have an urge to go and get it fixed up. So, you know, I hope you don't mind, but on the way back to the house, I'm going to go to this guitar shop. It's the best guitar shop in Dallas, and I'm going to be there for probably about 3/4 of an hour explaining this. So you're just going to have to hang around in the shop if that's okay with you. Yeah, it's okay with me. Right? That's my life, right? That's the life of the kingdom, not the boredom. Everything that's required is given. And the mental body cannot figure out how Jordan could arrange, you know, how couldn't, the mental body goes, zzz, oh, okay. I surrender. I surrender to a higher power, right? I am not God after all. Okay. Right, okay. And being without condition, when we digest our daily bread, when we engage with any uncomfortable emotional signature by being without condition, we bring to ourselves what is required. It's miraculous. And once that power is rediscovered, you will wonder why human beings run around banging their heads against the wall when everything is given, right? Everything is given. So let's take a break.